Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Sarah Wong. Our top stories tonight. John Lee received stamp of approval from President Xi Jinping on his contributions to national security. COVID clusters at Lan Kwai Fong entertainment precinct continues to grow. And clashes break out in East Jerusalem after far-right Israelis hold controversial flag march. More than 3 weeks after his uncontested election victory, John Lee finally received his appointment letter from leaders in Beijing. The chief executive in waiting was praised by President Xi Jinping for safeguarding national security, as well as restoring order in Hong Kong. Macy Mo reports.
Even a mask couldn't hide John Lee's excitement as he met President Xi Jinping at the Diaoyutai State Guest House in Beijing this afternoon. Apart from the face coverings, the pair did not exchange handshakes during the photo call. It is a tradition for chief executive-elects to meet the president before taking office, and Lee was no exception. Xi had a clear message for the former security chief. You have a firm love for the country and made contributions to safeguarding national security and Hong Kong's prosperity, he said. I believe the next SAR government will start afresh, helping Hong Kong turn the page, Xi added, a subtle reference to Lee's election slogan, starting a new chapter for Hong Kong. In response, Lee pledged to give it his all to serve the city and not let down the trust of the central government. Their meeting came hours after Lee received the appointment letter from Premier Li Keqiang. Hong Kong's fifth chief executive will begin his 5-year term on July the 1st. After sitting down, the premier pledged his full support to Lee to improve the SAR's economy and livelihood. But the premier also made his demands clear. We hope the next SAR government will unite everyone in society and respond to their concerns, Lee said. The leader also urged the incoming chief executive to rein in the COVID pandemic and improve people's livelihood. At this important juncture of Hong Kong's 25th anniversary of its return to the motherland, I fully understand the great responsibility I am bearing, Lee said. He also vowed to continue implementing one country, two systems. The future Hong Kong leader will conclude his 4-day duty visit to the capital tomorrow. Before flying home, he will also meet Xia Baolong, head of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Another 19 customers at 2 nightclubs in Lan Kwai Fong have tested positive for COVID. The Zentro nightclub cluster has grown to 23 cases, 8 more than yesterday. Patients at the other hotspot, the Iron Fairies Bar, also doubled to 22. Health authorities have found that 2 men had visited both venues, but neither were deemed as super spreaders. Instead, the Center for Health Protection blamed poor air ventilation at both entertainment hubs for spreading COVID quickly. This came as Hong Kong saw another 275 patients. 2 more COVID patients have also passed away in the past 24 hours. The bar industry has urged the government to clarify its COVID regulations so that businesses won't fall foul of them. This came after a nightclub, which reported an outbreak, seemingly broke the rules by arranging a DJ performance. Isaac Lee reports.
Just 10 days after Hong Kong's bars and nightclubs reopened for the first time in months, the industry is already threatened by 2 COVID outbreaks in Lan Kwai Fong. One of the clusters was reported at the Zentro nightclub. Information have since circulated on social media suggesting DJs were invited to perform on the night of May 21st, when the infected cases paid a visit. That seemed to contravene government regulations, which states that live performances and dancing remain prohibited at this stage. Responding to the allegations, Anthea Chen, director of the trade group Lan Kwai Fong Association, argued that authorities did not clearly define whether in-house DJs are considered a live performance. but she admitted some customers could forget to put on their masks when not eating or drinking. In an interview with HKIBC, Bar and Club Association Chairman Chin Chun-wen felt that bars and clubs should shoulder a bigger responsibility in enforcing the rules. He also welcomed more frequent inspections from authorities in exchange for keeping the doors open. Microbiologist Ho Pak-leun also felt there's no need to shut down the nightlife district for now. He said it was highly unlikely that any of the customers will develop severe complications, considering they are relatively young and double-jabbed. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
China has largely reined in the Omicron outbreak, with authorities reporting only 122 infections nationwide, the fewest in nearly 3 months. 67 of those patients were from Shanghai. There were no additional COVID-related deaths for the third consecutive day. The financial hub is expected to formally lift lockdown on Wednesday, with the aim of returning to normality by the end of June. Factories will no longer need approval before resuming production, while residents can travel on public transport after obtaining a negative PCR test. In Beijing, where only 12 additional patients were recorded, authorities announced all transmission chains have been cut. Overseas, tens of thousands of Israeli nationalists chanted racist slurs while marching through the Muslim neighborhood in East Jerusalem. Clashes broke out between the marchers and local Palestinians, who saw this year's flag march as highly incendiary. Tens of thousands of Israeli flag-waving nationalists swarmed the Damascus Gate in occupied East Jerusalem. They were celebrating a holiday which commemorates Israel's conquest of the Old City and East Jerusalem in 1967. The area has long been a flashpoint of conflict, as the Palestinians envisage it as the capital of their future state. Tensions boiled over when a group of Jewish nationalists marched through the Old City's Muslim neighborhood. Some radical participants chanted racist slogans such as "Death to Arabs," while Palestinian journalists were also targeted. Skirmishes finally broke out as angry Palestinian residents pelted objects towards the marchers to force them out. Others confronted the Jewish group head-on, chanting slogans of their own. Earlier, violent clashes erupted at a religious compound both Muslims and Jews revered. A record high of more than 2,000 Jews, including a lawmaker, scaled the hilltop site known as the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Islam. Some of them flouted a long-standing ban to pray there, while others waved flags. Palestinians set off fireworks to disperse the Jewish worshippers, but were pushed back by stun grenades fired by Israeli police. Dozens of Palestinians were also injured in the occupied West Bank, where Israeli settlers attacked Palestinian villages. Last year's flag march infuriated Palestinian militants, who fired rockets into Israel and ignited an 11-day war. At least 250 Palestinians in Gaza, controlled by Hamas, and 13 people in Israel were killed during the conflict. U.S. President Joe Biden promised to do something to address gun violence as he and his wife Jill visited the grief-stricken Texan town of Uvalde. 19 children and their 2 teachers were shot dead in a primary school less than 2 weeks after a racially motivated attack took the lives of 10 people in Buffalo. Joe Biden promised the crowd begging for action that America will do something about gun violence. The U.S. president and his wife Jill flew to the small Texan town of Uvalde, where a close-knit community is mourning the loss of 21 school children and teachers shot dead on campus last week. The black-clad couple paid a visit to Robb Elementary School, laying down a bouquet in a sea of flowers. Having lost 2 children to a car accident and cancer, the president was in a solemn mood as he walked past the pictures of the victims. All but 2 were kids aged 9 to 11. The Bidens also attended Mass at a local church before meeting with victims' families and first responders. Biden reportedly suggested that the school be demolished and rebuilt, just like Sandy Hook Elementary in Connecticut, which was also shattered by a mass shooting 10 years ago. This is Biden's second visit in as many weeks to a traumatized community. He was in the New York city of Buffalo earlier this month after an 18-year-old alleged white supremacist gunned down 10 people at a grocery store. Thousands of kilometers away in Uvalde, residents flocked to a memorial seeking comfort and possibly answers. The Justice Department is launching a probe as anger simmers over the lengthy police response to the rampage. A commander at the scene told his subordinates not to storm into the school when the shooting started, and officers waited outside the classroom while children repeatedly dialed 911. In Washington, the Congress remains divided as Republicans and Democrats wrestle over gun regulations in a nation where the right to bear arms is enshrined in the Constitution. Hong Kong's stock market kicked off the week with strong gains after investors reacted positively to news of COVID curbs easing in Shanghai and Beijing. The Hang Seng Index edged up by 2%. The tech index also saw a robust climb of nearly 4%, with JD.com and Meituan leading the rally. Heavyweight Alibaba picked up over 4% and Tencent 2%. Plans by Shanghai and Shenzhen to boost local consumption also benefited retail shares such as Li Ning, Haidilao, and China Resources Beer. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed up 426 points. Top 10 active stocks: Tencent up $8.20, Meituan up $11.20, and Alibaba up $3.90. JD.com up $14.40, Li Ning up $5.80, and Kuaishou Technology up $2.35. Forwards trading against Hong Kong dollar, Euro is trading at 8.45, British pound at 9.92, and Canadian dollar at 6.19. Over to the UK market, FTSE 100 is up 0.43. On to the weather now. Sunny periods with a few showers and isolated thunderstorms tomorrow. Temperatures range between 27 and 32 degrees. Similar conditions in the coming days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Monday night. Join us for more updates at 11. I'm Sarah Wong. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and take care.